Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on using the new Band-in-a-Box for Mac DAW plugin in GarageBand. With Band-in-a-Box 2019 for Mac, we've introduced a plugin that accesses all of the real tracks, real drums, and other content in Band-in-a-Box, but can be used right inside of your favorite DAW, without having to open the actual Band-in-a-Box application. The plugin comes free with the purchase of Band-in-a-Box, and the plugin installs when you install the main program. In this video, we're going to have a look at the various ways you can use this amazing plugin in GarageBand. If you use a different DAW, we have other videos that demonstrate it in many other DAWs such as Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Reaper, Ableton Live, and many more. First, we'll look at a quick and easy way to get started with the plugin. We'll also go through some of the settings within the plugin, then we'll look at different ways you can use the plugin that use the unique features of GarageBand. And throughout the video, I'm going to try and use a variety of Band-in-a-Box styles, so you'll get a sense of the different genres, grooves, and tempos we cover. Whether you're into jazz, rock, country, soul, or any styles you can think of, there's something for you in Band-in-a-Box. Right now we're listening to some great blues tracks playing in GarageBand that we created with the plugin. Everything that you're hearing right now in GarageBand was created by the Band-in-a-Box plugin simply by typing in these chords, and you can enter any chords in any key. Then we picked this blues style and generated the tracks. I'm going to go back in time a little bit to show you how we got these great sounding tracks. We're going to start with a blank GarageBand project. When you start a new GarageBand project, it will ask you what type of track you would like to create. The Band-in-a-Box plugin is an instrument plugin, so I'll create a software instrument track. GarageBand will load another instrument by default, so let's change it to the Band-in-a-Box plugin. We'll open the Smart Controls section by clicking on this dial icon, but you can also press the B key. Now we'll expand the plugin section and change the default instrument to the Band-in-a-Box plugin. You can find it under AU Instruments, PG Music Inc., Band-in-a-Box DAW AU Plugin. So this is the Band-in-a-Box plugin. It's sizable, so I'll make it bigger. And now we have a blank chord chart. This area here is for the different instruments in the style, and is currently blank because we don't have a style loaded. Here's where you can pick a style. Here you can set various musical elements such as the key, time signature, etc. And there's a spot for a song title, and various menus we'll look at later. In order to get our tracks, we need to pick a style and enter some chords. I'll enter a chord progression first. I'll do it in the key of E, and I'll enter a basic major blues chord progression that is 12 bars long. I think that's good. I'll change some of the elements up here. I'll make the end bar 12, and I'll change the choruses to 2, so that this entire thing will play 2 times. Now we can select a style either by clicking in the Select a Style area, or by going to the Select menu and picking Select a Style. So here's a list of all the Band-in-a-Box styles available, and you can see there's over 6,000 to choose from. You can just double click on any style in the list to hear a sample of what it'll sound like. For example, I could filter by rock styles and sort them by heaviness, and listen to a few. Or I could filter by funk and listen to some of those. Or jazz. Or maybe some modern styles with synthesizers. Okay, back to our project. We need to find a blues style, so let's view all of the styles again and filter them by blues. Now we'll listen to a few styles. I especially like this blues style with a Saul Philcox guitar solo. You'll notice that in this column it shows the ideal tempo of the style, which for this one is 130 beats per minute. That does not mean you have to use it at that tempo, but if it's somewhat close to that, you'll get the best results. And I'll pick a tempo maybe a tiny bit faster than that sample we heard in the style picker, 135 beats per minute. And I'll set that in the plugin as well. When you first add the plugin, it takes the tempo from the DAW, but since we just changed it in the DAW, I need to change it in the plugin as well. So now we're ready to generate the parts, and there are some custom generation options in this menu, but right now I just want all the tracks generated normally, so I'll press the top Generate button. It's creating the tracks now. Notice that right now there are some green squares and a blue square in this area, and those squares are empty. When the tracks are ready, those squares will be filled in. The generation does take a little bit of time, so we'll skip ahead in the video a little bit. So now it's finished, and the squares are filled with waveform icons, meaning they're ready to drag into the DAW. Before we do that, we can sample these tracks by pressing play up here. And we can now drag them into the DAW, which can be done individually or as a group. Here I'll show you just dragging in the bass by itself, but I'll undo that, so I can show you importing them as a group by dragging the blue icon. And now we have these tracks right in our DAW, and during playback, the chord chart also highlights the currently playing bar. So you can now mix the tracks, add effects, or anything we like. And as with all real tracks and real drums, these are real instruments played by real musicians. These are not individually sampled notes, these are actual performances by some of the top studio musicians in the world, able to play over any chord progression in any key you enter. I'll do a few similar but quicker examples like this, with a few different styles, so you can get a sense of the variety available in the Band-in-a-Box plugin. Here I'm typing in some chords like I did before. But this time I'll pick a hard rock style. Setting the tempo and generating the tracks. Now I'm dragging them in, and I've got some great hard rock tracks in my project. Here I'm typing in some chords. And I'm picking a train beat country style and generating the tracks. Now dragging them in, and I've got some great country tracks in my project. In addition to typing in chords, you can open Band-in-a-Box files. Either files you've created right in the Band-in-a-Box app, or files other people have sent to you, or even the demos that come with Band-in-a-Box. I'm going to open a Band-in-a-Box song file that uses a jazz style that features our 9-part big band crooner horn section. So now we have that entire thing entered for us, the chord progression, key, form, etc. So I'll just generate the tracks. Now I'll drag them in, and here's a great jazz style with a big band horn section. And of course, in addition to opening Band-in-a-Box files, you can also save anything you entered here as a Band-in-a-Box file as well. I'll do the same file open thing to check out the demo for a funk style, loading a song that features not one but two legendary musicians on the real drums track. Sput Seawright plays the kit, while Kiera Ogawa plays percussion. And here it's playing. Let's load up the plugin again and check out some of the settings within the plugin. In the rendering section of the preferences, there are various options for your renders. For the master mix, you can choose to render as a flat mix, a dry mix, and a center panned mix. On the right, you can choose options like normalizing, acidizing, and padding for multi-riffs. The multi-riff padding puts blank space on either side of the audio. You can also choose to allow multi-riffs to start early or end late, notify when generation is complete, and auto-generate songs. The last feature auto-generates all of your tracks when you load a song instead of waiting for you to click on Generate. This area allows you to specify a Band-in-a-Box program, real tracks, real drums, and save tracks location. In our case, we'll leave these values that are automatically set. There is likely no reason this would need to be changed, but if it were pointing to an incorrect folder, it would appear red and pressing Find Folders would set it correctly automatically. At the bottom of the preferences, you'll find DAW settings, where you can change the host DAW. This is set automatically and should be correct already, but you can change it if it's wrong. You can also choose whether you would like bar highlighting in the chord sheet. What I'm going to do next is create a song with a modern tango groove. I'll start by generating a style that includes a loop, but then I'm going to start adding more tracks, which will include some MIDI and a solo that will use the multi-riff feature. So here I am typing in a tango chord progression in C minor. And like before, now I'll load a style. I'm going to choose a modern tango style called Red Dress. This style fuses traditional tango instruments with a modern hip-hop influenced beat. It's available in one of our extra styles packs, which are add-ons that boost your collection of real styles. I'll generate the tracks, and I'll drag them in. And let's listen a bit. Now you'll notice in the plugin there are the green and blue squares for the audio. On the other side, there are also orange squares with little eighth notes in them. This means that for these tracks there is also MIDI available. For the guitars and basses, this is mostly just useful for notation, but for the piano, this could actually be very useful right in this project. GarageBand has some really cool instrument options built right in, so I'm going to add a new instrument, this acoustic piano, and I'll drag the piano MIDI from the Band-in-a-Box plugin onto that track. Now I'll play a little bit with the acoustic piano soloed and play with the settings to get a good sound for the song. I want to add a bit of percussion to this with an additional loop. Like everything else in Band-in-a-Box, when trying to find the right instrument and part, just double-click to sample. I think this one will work really well. So now I'll generate just that loop. I'll drag it in, and that sounds pretty cool. I think I want a saxophone solo for the first 12 bars. I'll find the right sax solo in the Real Tracks picker. I could generate the solo once, but I want even more options available to me, so I'm going to use the multi-riff feature to generate 7 different tracks of the same saxophone soloist, so I can then choose the solo that I like the best. I'll filter the Real Tracks by sax solo and find something around the same tempo. This one is a little slower at 85 BPM, but it's still close enough to our project tempo of 100 to sound great, so I'll choose it. I'll also take just a moment to show you how the different tracks are laid out within the plugin, now that we have tracks of various types loaded in the song. There are 3 main sections available with this scroll wheel. On top we have the style tracks, that is all of the tracks that are specifically loaded with the red dress style. Then in the middle we have the special tracks, and we have that one special loops track. Additional individually picked real tracks, real drums, etc. would go here as well. And then the bottom section is the multi-riff, which is what we just picked, and now we'll generate the multi-riffs. So now we have 7 of the same soloist, but playing different parts on all 7 of those tracks. If we tried to play them together, it would sound pretty bad. But the idea is that we can listen to them individually and either pick the one we like the best or piece together phrases from each of them. So I'll listen to these tracks one at a time by soloing them, with the other instruments playing in the background. I think I like this one the best, so I'll remove the other ones. And let's listen to the whole arrangement. For the last section of this video, I'm going to demonstrate some of the unique features in GarageBand that you can use together with the Band-in-a-Box plugin. First, let's change it up with an acoustic grunge reel style from the latest Extra Styles pack. This acoustic style will act as a good rhythm section foundation for our song. Now I'll enter a chord progression that uses simple campfire chords so that it suits the acoustic guitars that are playing it. I'll start by setting the key to A minor, and I'm going to use the style's native tempo of 90 beats per minute. Of course, I need to change the tempo in GarageBand to 90 as well. And here I am, entering a folky chord progression that I think will work well. As usual, we'll generate the tracks and drag them into the DAW. Not bad at all. But I think this song needs one more thing, an electric guitar solo. Another great feature of GarageBand is that it allows you to connect an electric guitar directly to your Mac and use an amp simulation. This way you can quickly get some great tones out of your electric guitar without hauling any gear around. And now I'm going to create a new guitar audio track like so. You may need to set the correct input in order to hear your guitar. The next part is really cool. We can choose whichever pedals and amp we'd like to play through, with really nice visual representations. We can even change the type of mic that is recording the amp. So let's start with the amp. And I'll choose an amp that's emulating something I'm familiar with. Now I'll tweak the settings as I play through it a bit until I'm happy with the tone. Great, that's just how I want it. I left the amp on the edge of distortion without pushing it too far. For an overdrive sound, I'll depend on a guitar pedal. I'll pick a vintage drive pedal that I know will work well with the amp that I chose in the last step. Sounding pretty good, but I'll also add a little bit of reverb and delay to make it sit nicely in the mix. Bear with me while I adjust the sound a little bit. Excellent, the guitar tone is just the way I like it. There's nothing left to do but hit the record button and hope my playing isn't bad today. Okay, my solo is recorded. Let's listen to the whole project. This concludes the tutorial on using the Band-in-a-Box DAW AU plugin with GarageBand. If you want any more information about the plugin, please go to www.pgmusic.com and navigate to Support Mac Plugin. Have fun!